Hello and welcome to the Rusted Brush. Today I'm going to be showing you how I made a Bretonnian Warband for Mordheim. For a little more context, I'm running a Bretonnian themed Mordheim campaign at my local game store. We're adding a lot of house rules like a tournament after each round, chivalry rating, and other fun things like that. So to start with, I first went on how I wanted to equip my Warband. If you haven't played Mordheim before, it's important to use your gold to purchase heroes first. Heroes are normally the only members of your warband that can explore and earn gold for you. I put down some rough numbers and equipment I want for my warband, and what in the future of the campaign I may want to buy. So my warband consists of a questing knight, 2 knight errant, and 2 squires. Later down the line, I hope to get as many bowmen as well, so I'll be painting 5 of them here as well. For the models I'm using, the bowmen are just old metal Bretonnian bowmen. The squires are the old metal men-at-arms command, just with some shields added to them. The questing knight on horse is a slightly converted metal questing knight. I replaced the head with a Sisters of Battle head and green stuffed chainmail hood. The dismounted version of the questing knight and the knight errants are all models 3D printed. These models are from Ezipion, I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, on My Mini Factory. I have a link in the description to a store. These models are amazing, and there is a bit of a scale discrepancy, but I kinda like the idea that my knights are bigger looking than the peasants and squire, so it doesn't bother me that much. So with the models ready, it's time to paint. To start, I prime the models with Koroks white spray. I'm going to use predominantly speed paint to begin with, as I find it's an easy way to block in colors as base coats. I start with Army Painter's Slaughter Red, as red is the main color of most of the models. I'm going to be using it on the heraldry, and some of the clothing, and some of the hoods on the squires as well. Pallid Bone from Army Painter is next. This is the second most common color I'll be using. It's used on clothing, bows, some of the wooden parts, and on the candles. Ruddy Fur and Hardened Leather are used on the belts, clothing, gloves, and wooden parts of the weapons. Basilicanum Grey is used on some of the clothing as well. For any metal parts like weapons and armor, I use Broadsword Silver Speed Paint. Now it's time to highlight the models. Starting with red, I highlight using Mephiston Red. I'm using the airbrush version as it is thinned down and I can use it straight from the pot. For the more beige colored parts of the model, I use Vallejo Khaki to give it a dull highlight. I then mix Vallejo Khaki and AK Off-White on this cloak, the antlers of the questing knight, the candles, and the book on the horse. I painted this halberd and shield with an AK Off-White. For any of the clothing I wanted gray, I used Mechanicus Standard Gray for this. For the metal, I highlighted some of it with P3 Pig Iron or AK Dark Aluminum. I didn't want all the weapons and armor to be uniform, so this is a good way to have some contrast. The chainmail and blades I used AK Dark Aluminum for, and any plate armor and helmets I used P3 Pig Iron for. Before moving on, I paint the skin here at this point as I didn't want to mess it up earlier, so this is why I'm painting it now. For this, I'm using Crusader skin. Next is the real fun part, which is freehand painting and heraldry. The first bit of freehand was to paint a symbol and some scribbles on the book here. I'm treating the book like some sort of diary. I'll get into this and my decision of heraldry when I discuss my influences and theme later on. The next freehand I do is on the shield. I do this zigzag pattern here with Abaddon Black thinned down. First it looks a bit rough, but after I clean it up a bit with second application of Abaddon Black, it looks much better. Plus I'm going to be making these models fairly muddy and dirty, so if there's any mistake I can always cover it up then. So for the rest of the heraldry, I use stickers from a tarot sticker book I had. I pick specific ones for each of the heroes. I also make sure to have the same sticker for the dismounted version of the questing knight. I have a video that goes more in depth on my stamps and stickers method if you want to see more on that. Once I cut the stickers to shape and apply them with glue, I move on to the enamel wash to really solidify the look I'm going for. All the models get a full wash of AK Engine Grime. I really like this color for a wash as it feels very muted and warm. It doesn't feel too rusted and it doesn't feel too dark either. Once the enamel wash is dry, I use white spirits to wipe off the wash, leaving it mostly in the recesses of the models. Last part was basing, and this was simple. I wanted it to match my Bretonnian army that I already have, so they get a thick mucky paste of muddy ground from AK. I splattered this on the lower parts of the models, and to cover up any of the heraldry that I made mistakes on. And with that, these models are finished. Here's a little showcase of the models all done. So what were my influences and theme for this warband? Well, there are two odd ones here. As some of you may have guessed already, the first one is from the show Twin Peaks. This feels like an odd influence for a warband, but this show is super captivating and had some interesting vibes, themes, and aesthetics that I wanted to incorporate in models. This is why the clothing on the knights are red, to be a nod to the Red Room, the zigzag shield is the flooring of that room, and the symbol on the diary is the symbol of the Owl Cave. If you haven't watched Twin Peaks, this probably makes no sense to you, so I really do recommend you watch that as well. The other source of influence and theme came from the video game Who's Lila. This game is why I watched Twin Peaks in the first place, as it makes references to Twin Peaks. This game was very different from any other game I've played, and this was a huge influence for me. There's a huge rabbit hole going down with this game. If you're not too interested in a point and click, I recommend you watch some lore videos on this. Each ending in the game has to do with tarot cards, and I would say each character has a role with that tarot card as well. This is why I use tarot cards as my heraldry, so both Twin Peaks and Who's Lila have a theme of a split good and evil and contrasting personalities. So in my lore from my Bretonnian Warband, they come off as chivalrous and gallant, but is that what they actually are? Is there something more that isn't talked or mentioned in the tales of this warband? Is the questing knight perhaps possessed? What do the tarot cards mean on their heraldry? Do the longbowmen use sycamore trees to make their bows? So that's the end of this video. It's a little bit different, but I hope you enjoyed it. I haven't named any of the members of the warband yet, as I don't want their names to be too on the nose from either influences, so I'm still coming up with something. The next video I make will be going back to my Estalian army project. I'll be showing you how I paint my chapter master on Demogryph. Remember to like and subscribe to see more content from me. Take care, everyone.